Good evening. This is Maestro Cotello with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite modcast. Today we have a 3v3 on Angel Gate. Our first player today is Jamona. Jamona is playing as the Eldar Farseer. She is a melee hero, but she's more about spellcasting, so she's really more of a spellcasting hero. She has spells for buffing and debuffing, as well as some for damage and control. Next up, we've got Max Power playing as the Force Commander, like he always does. And this is definitely more of a straight-up fighting hero. He tanks damage, he deals damage, can definitely deal a lot of damage later on with some upgraded weapons. And he's pretty straightforward. Next up, we've got SuperHooper playing as the Chaos Lord. A little bit hard to get a good angle, but the Chaos Lord is a tanky melee hero in Terminator armor with a combi bolter, as well as a big demon sword. I feel he is also a little straightforward as well, but he's also got some actual spells, so he's slightly less straightforward than the Force Commander, since he does have some other utility things that he can do. Next up, on the other team, we've got a whole bunch of Imperial Guard, and we all know that triple Imperial Guard in teams can be very, very powerful. As much as Imperial Guard by itself in 1v1 can be a little tough to use. But anyway, we've got our first player, Stoned Commissar. We've got a team full of Commissars. Well, not exactly. Stoned Commissar is actually playing as the Lord General, which is pretty surprising considering the Commissar is actually his signature hero. The Lord General is the only hero who is squad. Right now he's just walking around, not even fighting. He fights in ranged, actually decent in melee as well, and he's got a lot of support abilities coming from every single one of his warriors. Next up, we've got Commissar Sebastian Yarrick playing as the Commissar Lord. Slightly tanky hero. He runs in, ties things up. He's getting a power sword right now so that he can do even more damage to these tactical marines. He also has a free energy shield, and he can execute his own troops. It inspires them to fight harder. They shoot more, and well, I don't know if they actually shoot more, but it doubles their damage. And then finally, we've got Commissar Lag as yet another Commissar. So interesting. We've got the Imperial Guard team. Everyone has Commissar in their name, and they all play the Commissar as their signature hero. It's just in this case we have Stoned Commissar not playing as the Commissar. He's playing as the Lord General. That actually kind of makes me kind of disappointed. I would have liked it more if they were all playing the Commissar. If this was just Team Commissar with 3 players who are named Commissar and main the Commissar, but it's just not the case. Howling Banshees in way over their heads. If anything, I'm surprised Jamona got Howling Banshees against triple Imperial Guard. The Howling Banshees nearly go down. In fact, they do go down. So, yeah, Howling Banshees not so great against Banshees. I mean, Howling Banshees not so great against Banshees. Man. Howling Banshees not so great against Imperial Guard. Now, the great thing about... one of the great things about all 3 of these players playing Imperial Guard is that they go for pretty different opening builds. We've got Yarrick with the triple guardsman. That's something he likes to do. We've also got the standard build out of Stone Commissar, where he's got the double guardsman and the sentinel, and then we've got Commissar Lag with the double sentinel build. So Lag's got a lot of that pressure. He won't bleed a lot. He just has a lot of the pressure from the Sentinel with these single entities that don't bleed and are very fast. Yarrick has the flexibility that he's going to get later on with triple guardsmen, as well as the high damage range fire, especially once he gets plasma guns against all this power armor. And then Stone Commissar, he's really got like the balanced Imperial Guard build, giving him a little bit of everything. He's got the pressure of his lone Sentinel. Meanwhile, he's still got double guardsmen, giving him plenty of repair support for whatever vehicle he wants to scale into, which we should see quite inevitably. Meanwhile, on the blue team, well, Jamona no longer has his Howling Banshees, and to be honest, he might just be better off without them. Probably would have been better off never getting them in the first place, but I think losing them and then not replacing them is, if anything, might be better for him than keeping them around, trying to make them work, and just bleeding a lot from them. Because at least now he's not going to bleed the models from those Howling Banshees, and will just stick to like a bunch of ranged units. Max power, meanwhile, going for the 1-1-1-1 build. He's got Assault Marines, he's got Devastators, just got one of everything in Tier 1. This is now a very bad position for these Devastator Marines. Disrupted by the Catachans and now flanked. Catachans doing 20 DPS power melee per model, times 8. That's 160 DPS power melee on Catachan Devils. That's more than Howling Banshees. Of course, as a melee unit, they're still not as good as Howling Banshees. They're not as fast, they can't chase as well, they don't do special attacks, but I mean, that's still quite ridiculous just how much damage they do. Although overall that engagement not going that well for Stone Commissar, even though did he even get, yeah, he got one Devastator Marine model. Anyway, Sentinel, oh my god, what was that? Was that an IED? It must have been, because there was just an explosion right there. Nearly wiped one Dire Avenger squad, did some damage to another one. Unfortunately, the positioning of that Guardian weapon team was just not good at all. The Sentinel managed to get around it, and then we had triple Guardsmen flanking it, so yeah, that ultimately just wasn't working out. SuperHooper's gone for a pretty ranged-heavy build. He's got double Chaos Space Marines, he's got Grenade Launcher Heretics, he's got the Combi Flamer, as well as some Noise Marines. So he's gone for pretty much a strictly ranged build for Chaos, aside from the fact that his Chaos Lord is still going to be running in, probably trying to get into melee, even though he's going to be doing some decent range damage as well. This Force Commander is probably going to go down, and I mean, that's so much damage. Well, it's not so much damage, but it's enough. Looks like all of those Guardsman squads were also buffed by the Lead by Example ability on the Commissar's Power Sword. Lead by Example comes from the Power Sword. It's basically Battle Cry. It's basically a Battle Cry for the Commissar, but you have to pay to get it. It does also give an additional buff, which is it increases the Commissar's speed by 2, which is actually very useful for having him close into melee, especially with setup teams. And you can use something like Catachan Devils or Artillery Spotters to disrupt a setup team. Then the Commissar just runs in with that Lead by Example ability, and that allows like kind of the rest of your army to actually get through. This is now getting pretty scary over here. Blue team is tripled up in a very narrow pathway, but I mean, if all three of them are together, that could be pretty scary for the red team, which red team is currently split up. We've got Stone Commissar and Yarrick up top. Yarrick actually moving back off. I think he just wants different positioning. Maybe wants to come in from a different angle instead of having all of them blobbed up. But he needs to get in now, because now Stone Commissar is kind of fighting alone, and he actually seems to be somewhat abandoning his plan, just kind of moving out there. Meanwhile, down here, we've got the double Sentinels trying to go after, gee, I don't know what. They could be very effective against the Heretics, but they got to be also careful about these double Chaos Space Marines. The positioning for SuperHooper is actually not that strong right here. Definitely with that Sentinel being slightly overextended, there was a chance he could have taken it out. This Sentinel does not even have the ground pound upgrade, neither does this one. And I mean, right now SuperHooper is not emphasizing melee, so he doesn't actually need the stomp. Although it's still a cheap upgrade, and it could still be very useful against the Chaos Lord. And I also feel it could be nice for having that extra 100 health. Meanwhile, back up here, we have Ogren's purchase from Commissar Yarrick. Yarrick might be attempting to do his melee build. His Commissar is in a huge amount of trouble, though. But I think it's going to get out of there alive. Ogren's kind of run back to the support of their triple Guardsmen. Now, although Yarrick has triple Guardsmen, I wouldn't be surprised if for some reason he does not get Plasma Guns. Sometimes I actually see him get triple Guardsmen and then not get Plasma Guns. I'm not sure why. It would really make the Guardsmen just that much more powerful against all this power armor. They just triple Guardsmen with Plasma Guns would do a ridiculous amount of damage to like Tax and Chaos Space Marines, would bleed models very quickly. Meanwhile, it looks like Stone Commissar is getting a full power bash, even have a back-capping or a back-bashing like Flamer Guardsman squad. That needs to be careful. Stone Commissar might have his attention away from the squad. I think he's going to lose this one. He may have forgotten about it. You know, he's using a creeping barrage as an attempt to try to save his Guardsmen, but I think he loses them anyway. I think he had hoped to disrupt all these units so that they wouldn't be able to shoot at that Guardsman squad, but they still managed to finish that Guardsman squad off. Things overall, Stone Commissar doing pretty well, though, getting a full bash over here. He did not get, well, looks like he didn't bash a whole lot over here with that Flamer Guardsman. He interestingly has the Meltaguns on the Lord General. I actually don't see this upgrade a lot on the Lord General, although I tend to get it myself when I play the Lord General. Hero AV is always a convenience. because you're always going to have your hero. I mean, even if your hero is knocked, even if your hero is incapacitated, you're always going to have your hero in the sense that he's always going to be a part of your build. It's not like squads where some squads you may just not get in a certain game. You're always going to have your hero. So being able to get AV on your hero is a convenience. And of course, it's usually a cheaper AV option than getting an entirely new unit. So in that sense, the Melt-A-Gun on the Lord General is pretty good. It also gives him the Fight Harder ability. It increases the rate of fire, I believe. Yeah, increases the rate of fire on weapons, which should basically result in an increase in DPS. So that could be pretty good just for increasing the damage of a blob. Stone Commissar cutting it very, very close with this. Sentinel needs to keep moving back. Sentinel nearly dies, and all of these things are suppressed by the Guardian weapon team. Meanwhile, we've got some Stormtroopers actually outside the range of that Guardian weapon team. They do have their assault kits, so they actually have pretty long range themselves. This Sentinel needs repairs and needs to be careful about not getting too overextended. All right. Meanwhile, Max Power moving in. He's got a Thunder Hammer on his Force Commander. He's also got the Teleporter pack. So the plan there, I mean, the Force Commander, of course, as a melee unit, he probably would have trouble getting into melee normally and get focused down a lot. But what his plan with this is he's just going to teleport in, activate Battle Cry, and then he's instantly going to be disrupting an entire Imperial Guard blob and doing a lot of area of effect damage to them. Wow, looks like a lot of things dying over here. A Sentinel went down for Commissar Lag, and now he's suddenly got not a whole lot of units. He's in Tier 2, might want to get something. And we also have a Blastmaster Noise Marine. This is something that can be pretty effective against Imperial Guard because it is a very powerful area of effect damage unit. Oh, one Guardsman squad nearly goes down. Sometimes it can actually be tough to make Blastmaster Noise Marines work against Imperial Guard, though, if you have a Commissar or even an Inquisitor or Lord General be very aggressively tying up your units, and a Blastmaster Noise Marine is going to be a prime choice for things to tie up. We now have a Wraith Guard out for Jamona, a very good choice against Imperial Guard. It's extremely difficult to deal with Wraith Guard as Imperial Guard. Since you normally, to deal with Wraith Guard, you want some kind of melee unit to tie them up, so that usually forces an Ogryn purchase, and even then it can be hard to get Ogryns in against Wraith Guard, if considering Eldar players usually get Guardian weapons teams. Meanwhile, we now have a Manticore from Commissar Lag. That Manticore was mostly dodged by SuperHooper, so he didn't take any losses, but, I mean, it did definitely scare the Chaos Space Marines off, and that's one of the advantages of the Manticore. Even if you're not killing models and killing squads horribly, you are, at the very least, scaring them off. It is although sometimes it's possible to micro out of the way, out of just a Manticore rocket barrage, it's often extremely risky because you really cut your losses if you just retreat out of a Manticore strike. Otherwise, you're pretty much guaranteed to lose models if you actually get hit by a Manticore, and getting hit by that first rocket is always terrible because it usually sets you up to get hit by even more rockets, whereas if you can just retreat and not get knocked down, you really mitigate the effectiveness of the Manticore. Grenade goes in on the Guardsman. We had no reaction there from Yarrick, so that Guardsman squad got hit pretty hard, lost a few models. Meanwhile, over here, we've definitely got a lot of powerful range fire coming out of Stone Commissar. His Guardsmen do have plasma guns, not fully upgraded, do not have their Guardsman Commissar. And we also have the Lord General is pretty interesting. He's got 5 squad members. He's got a Vox Operator, which is actually a relatively uncommon warrior choice for the Lord General, or retinue member in this case. But it increases the speed of the Lord General. So the Lord General is actually running around pretty fast right now, although he's also getting path blocks a little bit. Also gives him an ability that allows him to reinforce out on the field. However, it does cost requisition. Particularly useful with Ogryns, since the Lord General's reinforcement ability does not cost any power. I think the Catachandels need to get out of there. We already had a heal on some of these units, but needs to get out of there otherwise. And now he's getting doubled. We've got, or even tripled. That's going to be a creeping barrage on top of some stuff, but it seems to be mostly missing. That must have been a Let the Galaxy Burn, and Stone Commissar, that could have been a really dangerous situation for him. Unfortunately, he lost every single one of his retinue members, and he needs to pay to get those retinue members back, which is one of the disadvantages of the Lord General's retinue. And one of the reasons why you often don't see that many retinue members aside from the Sergeant, because he gives the med pack ability. Anyway, back down here. Space Marines just entirely getting scared off. I think just too many guardsmen right here. We do have... Yarrick actually did choose to get plasma guns on 2 of his guardsmen. I mean, it really is a no-brainer choice, to be honest, against 2 power armor races. Wraithguard, meanwhile, chasing down all of these guardsmen. The Sentinel also needs to be careful not to stand still for too long, and Wraithguard are going to bash generators so quickly. Now, the Stormtroopers are actually not a bad answer to the Wraithguard, in part because they can significantly outrange the Wraithguard, and then if the Wraithguard try to close in closer, they can always kite, because the Stormtroopers are faster. And, yeah, I'd say that's just a big advantage of the Stormtroopers. Anyway, we have a grenade going in, kills 2 heretic models, and Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines... SuperHooper does have double Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines, so that is going to be some very, very powerful range fire, although they still have to be very, very careful about fighting Plasma Guardsmen, because although the Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines will kill a lot of Guardsman models, it's going to hurt so much more for the Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines when they lose models to the Plasma Guardsmen, since it's going to cost them way more to reinforce, and they will actually lose models very, very quickly to the Plasma Guardsmen. But this Thunderhammer Force Commander proving to be a great idea, doing very well against everything he's getting into melee with, and I mean, it's a great Ogryn counter. Those Ogryn's not going to be quite as effective now. This is where things are going to start getting scary for the blue team. Blue team is already losing in VPs. We've got a Baneblade building. Yarrick is inevitably saving up for a Baneblade, so that's going to be a second Baneblade. Clearly at this point, Lag is not going to get a Baneblade, or at least not yet. But he's going for double Manticores, and that's going to be scary in its own way. Anyway, Assault Cannon Dreadnought over here. That's going to add... First of all, that's a lot of high damage range fire. It has longer than standard range. And we also have that Assault Cannon Barrage. Very nice to use the heal to really mitigate the effects of that Assault Cannon Barrage, though. Otherwise, that Assault Cannon Barrage is a very, very powerful area of effectability and can be very, very useful against Imperial Guard in general, as well as Guardsman squads. That being said, blue team actually really struggling with the VPs, despite, I mean, we've got Wraithguard over here, which are normally a pain in the ass for Imperial Guard to deal with, but if the Wraithguard are overextended, then they will actually get tied up pretty easily. Want to do something like have the Wraithguard in front and then have a Shuriken Cannon behind it so that any melee units that attempt to tie up the Wraithguard end up getting suppressed. Double grenades go in, don't seem to hit full on, but that's enough to scare off the Ogryns a bit, because now they're at the point where they might actually lose a model. Ogryns ideally do not want to lose any models whatsoever, because their models cost a lot of power to reinforce. One Ogryn model went down. In fact, it wasn't just any Ogryn model. That was the Bonehead leader, and he cost a lot of power to get back and repurchase. Commissar Flare going down right there. I thought that might have been a... Oh my god, those missiles going in, nearly killing one of the Dire Avenger squads. And look at the damage that this Guardian squad is taking from those Chaos Space Marines. Stone Commissar being a little timid, a little conservative right here, just kind of hanging back with his Sentinel, and that Missile Launcher Sentinel does have some pretty long range. Here is the Baneblade, though. We've got SuperHooper called out the Baneblade. We've got Yarrick's Baneblade on the way as well, and Yarrick really did not get much. He had the Guardsmen, then he got Ogryns in Tier 2, and just ended up taking straight to a Baneblade. Meanwhile, oh my god, Lag is doing something else entirely. He's getting his third Manticore. Ooh. Juicy Manticore Strike goes in. And I mean, we've got, yeah, here are double Manticores and soon to be triple. Gotta be very careful about not overextending those Manticores, though. They do need to move up a little bit to get some really nice, juicy shots, but definitely don't want to leave them forward for too long. Here's another Manticore strike. This one probably not going to hit much, but it's just going to be raining Manticore rockets, and that's going to be huge trouble for the blue team. Got a Predator tank out for SuperHooper. It's a Nurgle tank of all things. Must have been a Wailing Doom right there. It looks like they finished the Wailing Doom, but I didn't actually see that much of what happened. It didn't look like much happened. You know what? The Avatar is actually in a huge amount of trouble right now. Taking damage from everything. I mean, the Sentinel's actually going to do pretty well against the Avatar, since it will just shoot it with its crack missiles. Those crack missiles will do full damage to the Avatar. Double Bane Blades right here. Now in a slightly bad position. Here is the Eldritch Storm, and that will actually gonna get both of the Bane Blades. Now both of the Bane Blades are in a lot of trouble. You know what? I think at least one of these Bane Blades is going to go down. That unfortunately was really not that well played by by the blue team, by the red team in general. One goes down. Wraithguard, a very powerful source of damage. This Bane Blade should start backing up, otherwise we're going to see two Bane Blades go down at once. Oh no, I think this Bane Blade is done. Hit by a Melt-A-Bomb from the Assault Marines, and they can't stop all this stuff. I think it would really take maybe Commissar... wow, two Bane Blades go down in like the span of a minute. This is like some Vance Stubbs status right here. Anyway, Manticore goes... two Bane Blades down already. I mean, normally that's like what's so difficult. That's like what's so difficult about Imperial Guard, that their vehicles are just like unbreakable in the late game, and they broke those vehicles. Although if there is anything that can break a Bane Blade, I mean, first of all, it's the Eldritch Storm, which is of course the best, probably the best tool overall for countering vehicle-based super units. And then of course, there's the damage factor because a Bane Blade is so tough, but Wraithguard do a ridiculous amount of damage. So two Bane Blades down. That's about 2,000 requisition and almost 400 power down the drain. So, Imperial Guard players, luckily for them, still have the VP lead. Wow, did we really have a Flesh over Steel on a Sentinel? Pretty amazing. That never happens, because the Force Commander could never normally catch up to a Sentinel, but this one got hit by Flesh over Steel and was actually pretty lucky to not die. Level 3 Sentinel, by the way. Anyway, whoa. I feel like something just got wiped there, but I'm not even sure what. Might have been Chaos Space Marines, because SuperHooper now missing one of his Chaos Space Marines, and Manticores are great against Chaos Space Marines, to be honest. Especially when you've got players blobbing up double Chaos Space Marines. Manticores are incredibly powerful against that. Anyway, Yarrick now has his second Baneblade building, and it will be the third Baneblade overall. Stone Commissar, I think, not bothering. Well, although he doesn't exactly have the resources. Well, could almost put out a Lehman Russ. Maybe we'll just... yeah. Anyway. Jamona's pretty much pop-capped. He's got 20... well, he's got 20 population left. He could actually get something else. But anyway, VP's now pretty even. They definitely... the red team had a lead for a while. The Imperial Guard team... it was like 185 to like 280 something. Now, or actually it was like, they still had like in the 300s. Now the VPs are pretty even. Certainly the Imperial Guard team suffering from losing 2 Sentinels. Look at how much damage that sword, that Avatar sword hit took out. Anyway, the lag, what is lag? Lag has triple Manticores, and I haven't been catching all of the Manticore strikes and all of the devastation that's been doing. Maybe it hasn't even been doing that much, but I mean, it's still got triple Manticores. Extremely powerful. That must be a Terminator call in, And there we go with some Assault Terminators. And suddenly the Imperial Guard players, they're really getting pushed back. Anyway, there are 2 Manticores over here. Yarrick trying to get his Baneblade out of there, trying to drive through. It's getting crowded. And this Manticore, I feel, overextended. Here come the Assault Terminators going after one Manticore, and that Manticore is done. Unfortunately, yeah, really need to be careful about leaving those Manticores up too forward. The other Manticores are in base. This one actually moving out of base again. Have to be very, very careful about that. This Manticore now getting very, very brazen walk, going way too close. And a blue team now with the VP advantage, 185 to 171. Assault Marines jumping in, but that's not a good engagement for them. Meanwhile, we're going to have some Manticore strikes going in, multiple Manticore strikes going in, and multiple Manticore strikes missing. Lag with... He's deciding his role is artillery, pretty much. He's just an artillery regiment of the Imperial Guard, and he's deciding that's what's important to him. Unfortunately for the Space Marines, the Dreadnought goes down. We've got Yarrick with the Fist of Brachus, and he's got some invulnerable guardsmen, or some invulnerable Ogrins, rather. But they don't have that much health, so once they stop being vulnerable, they will actually be very vulnerable. They will probably lose models, which is, you need to be very careful with that ability. Las Cannon right over here, taking shots at the Baneblade, and the Baneblade's just going in, but we got a Manticore strike for support. The Baneblade, a very late Demolisher cannon, completely destroyed the ground around there. Force Commander managed to get a Flesh Oversteel, which is not so terribly surprising. Baneblade just needs to be careful. Maybe need to move back out of there, but it might have been 100% snared because it was taking las cannon shots as well as getting hit by Flesh Oversteel. Now this Baneblade in trouble as well. We really need to give this more support and get it out of there. Force Commander is going to go down, but we've still got an Avatar chasing, and the Baneblade still taking damage. Oh no, that's, you know what, that's it for this Baneblade as well. 3rd Baneblade down. Taking Bright Lance hits as well as las cannon shots, so that is the 3rd Baneblade that is down in this game. Catachandels, this is actually really, really risky. Alright, he heals the Catachandels, but they're still just getting bullied off that point. Taking too much damage from the Phobos, got knocked over by the Rangers as well. And they still just want to get something on that point. The Lord General could do it, but he might lose some of his retinue members again. Oh! And one of the Stormtrooper models goes down. But yeah, I feel like they'll want to get something on that point, and it might have been better sooner rather than later. Now the Avatars around here probably should have put something on that point while it was just the Rangers and even the Phobos. So instead, Yarrick and looks like Yarrick and Lag are actually pushing for the blue team natural VP. We've got Commissar Yarrick's Commissar with the Fist of Brachus and Stubbornness right on top of the VP. Commissar Lag he's got the Xenos Power Claw instead, and he's also got the Flak Jacket. So we've got one Commissar is just on the point, just going for the capture. He's not stopping to fight, just going for the capture. I think this is, he does not have the energy. He's not that, oh no, he's going to lose his Commissar. He really wanted the point, and I feel that might have been misguided. I mean, he really wanted the point, but it cost him his Commissar. He's got a lot of resources, though. He can buy it back, although it looks like he's saving up for the team's 4th Baneblade. Meanwhile, Stone Commissar hesitant to put anything on this point. Man, Jamona floating massively. He could actually get another squad out on the field. But maybe just deciding that he's doing well with what he's got. I don't think a Sentinel would be the best idea on the point. I really think the Lord General, just given how tough he is, although now he's very far away. We're actually seeing a lot of malignant blindness from the Chaos Lord, trying to blind all these units. Here we go with... Is that a rocket run or a creeping barrage? That's just a creeping barrage, gets all of those squads off the point, but now the Sentinel goes down from the Rangers. So that scares away all the Dire Avengers, but here is a Nurgle Predator, and they get a decap off on the point to keep them in the game a little bit longer. But Now they're getting pretty overwhelmed, and this Stormtrooper model gets out of there because Assault Terminators have no ranged weapons. Could this be it for the Imperial Guard team? I mean, it's tough dealing with Eldar and all of their...
We have it, Farseer.
Oh, this is a... Oh my god, here is an orbital bombardment where all the Manticores are. Can Lag react to this? He's not going to get it out in time. Those Manticores are done. No. No. Alright. 2 Manticores down. Oh no. 3 Manticores down, and Yarrick, Lag has pretty much just lost everything in that engagement. And now we actually, but we've got Yarrick going in hard, being Commissar Yarrick, like really being Commissar Yarrick and going for that point. Problem is, we've got the natural VP decap for the Imperial Guard team. So Yarrick getting the cap on this middle VP, or yeah, on this middle VP. Commissar's still here. He's going to tough it out again. He's going to beat Commissar Yarrick. He's really living up to his namesake right now. And this Phobos was there, and somehow that didn't even work for finishing off all that stuff there and deterring all that stuff. Meanwhile, we've got now a Lehman Russ for Yarrick. And that Lehman Russ, well, doing some damage to... Oh, the Lehman Russ about to get hit by Flesh over Steel. Bam! Now the Librarian should get on the point. Decap that point for the blue team. Yeah, just get on the point. Oh, but he can't get on the point because he's getting suppressed. Lehman Russ now in a huge amount of trouble. Using the Commissar Flare to save his ass. And that Commissar... Those Commissar mines buying them precious time right here. Oh no. We've got another overexposed or exposed Manticore. Manticore going for the Phobos rather than the Librarian. That could be a mistake. They might not be able to stay in the game otherwise. Meanwhile, this Manticore is done. Or it's going to get really, really lucky. But I don't think the... Wow. They actually got... The red team managed to get a decap on the blue team's natural. How long can they stay in this game? They're really just hanging on right now, but I don't think they can stay in this. Yeah, this is probably going to be it. They're too far away from the contested VP, too far away from the blue team's natural VP, so it's a 2-1 for the blue team. And I mean, I thought we might see some Imperial Guard dominance just because of how incredibly powerful Imperial Guard is in team games. If anything, the only chance now are the Ogrins. They need to go for the point now, like literally now. They have no more time, but they get knocked off the point. And that's yeah, that's it. Ogrins do not have enough health left. They're going to die, and that's going to be it. I thought maybe we might have seen some Imperial Guard dominance here just because of how incredibly powerful Imperial Guard is in team games, especially when you have triple Imperial Guard. But I think it was Max Power who sent this replay, so then it's not surprising that his team won. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.